When your 5-year-old is unpredictable and it's impossible to mitigate the chaos. Before we get into his behavior, let's talk about your reactions to his behavior. Is it actually chaos or is it just a 5-year-old? When you were 5, were you told that you were a lot of chaos? Were you told that you weren't allowed to be chaotic? Were you not safe to be able to express who you were when you were 5? Is the unpredictability of somebody who's 5 years old making you feel like you're swirling and then there's chaos? So you feel chaos when he's feeling fine as a 5-year-old. This doesn't mean that his behavior is perfect by any means, but it could mean that he's acting like a pretty standard 5-year-old and it's triggering parts of you that's like, we can't act like this. Or it's not safe to act like this, or whatever other potential reasons that a 5-year-old feels chaotic. So that might be something to ponder on. The second option is that he's 5 and he needs more direction in order to be enriched. 5-year-olds are still in the acid trip years, so that's where they're just tiny drunk humans that are slowly sobering up until they finally hit about age 6 and they grow a brain. A lot of what they do is completely irrational and doesn't make any sense to us because that's how they're designed. That's how they're exploring the world. Fearless, chaotic, and we're just trying to make it to bedtime each night. It could just be that he needs more physical activities to do. Climbing things, jumping over things, make an obstacle course, build a hopscotch out front. Not build, sidewalk chalk it, you know what I mean. Blow bubbles, get a jump rope, get a skip it. Maybe he needs something that he needs to be busy with his hands, so start getting some of the busy bucket ideas that he's able to play with, like a sensory bin, and they have a ton of them on Pinterest. I usually recommend Little Nugget Learning, but their shipping has been down for a while, so I don't know what's happening there. But there's a ton of sensory bin ideas on there because I actually need more sensory bins, and I'm waiting for Little Nugget to come back online. Maybe you're discovering that he's more of a routine type of person who needs to know the next predictable step so that he doesn't get off course. I know often we think of schedule people and routine people as looking for more of like, what's the next thing to do? What's the next thing to do? But sometimes it can present itself in a way of going, well, I don't know what the next thing to do is, so I'm just going to keep doing this until I'm totally bored. And then they're off and they're just doing the wild and crazy version of whatever that is. I'm a routine person. I'm not a schedule person. Every time I try to stick to a schedule, I want to break it because I'm a rule breaker. But a routine I can handle because I can do the next thing as soon as I'm done with something. And then if I do all of the things that I need to get done early in a day, that gives me more free time. Because I'm also competitive. So a routine works for me significantly better. So rather than watching a clock with a schedule of saying, this is the next thing we do at this time, instead a routine says, all right, well, when we're done with this project and you see them starting to get into that unpredictable behavior, move them on to the next project. This is like if you start to research Montessori and like Montessori style homes, I think that's a really good idea because basically you just have different learning zones. Each of my kids have different bases that they can go to throughout the day. And I say that it's really not as formal as like having a base. It's just different places that they can do different things. At one point I had this with different bins that they could go through and use throughout the day. And other points, like right now, it's just the way the house is set up. But it's that kind of Montessori philosophy of moving on to the next thing once you hit the beginning crest of boredom. I have one child who, when his impossibility to mitigate usually comes down to different food sensitivities, he's just on a more specialized and clean diet. Since he was born, he has had a literal reaction to certain pesticides, and we didn't figure it out until he was 1. So when I keep his diet cleaner, it ends up with him having less of a brain fog or, poor impulse control. That doesn't mean everything is evil in American food. It just means that I have one kid who tends to be more sensitive, and I have to shop annoyingly clean. I know the things that I need to avoid in order to make sure that he is going to be able to thrive well. And it works for him. It works for him. So it potentially could be that your child has some kind of reaction to food. All of that to say, there's a million different things that would be going on to be able to create that kind of chaos in him. If it were my child, I would first start with a routine and see how that works. I would also add in a lot more tactical play. Another thing that you can add in like caring for a baby doll or more like house type activities. Because when he has the responsibility to take care of something smaller and more tender, he has to learn that he has to have more impulse control. When my 4-year-old starts acting crazy, we ask him to babysit his sister's Squishmallows. And he has the responsibility of babysitting the Squishmallows and making sure that they all stay safe for a certain amount of time. That 1 shows him the responsibility of caring for something else. 2, it shows him that he needs to stay in the same place and stay safe. And 3, it allows him to get praise when he's done because we tell him what a good job he did and what a great helper he is. His sister will praise him for being a good babysitter and making sure they all stay safe. I wish I had the simple, this is the easy solution, but it's going to take work to try and figure out how you can be the best version of you to show up best for him, and how to create the best environment to help him thrive, and also allow you to thrive. And it's okay to change things up as you're figuring out the best pattern for him and the best pattern for you. I hope that helps.